cup of joe. Let's talk about some goings on and anything you know. Cup of joe. Let's talk about some goings on and anything you know. Good morning. Get in here and grab a cup of joe. Let's talk about some goings on and anything you know. Joe. Let's talk about some goings on and anything you know. Good morning. Get in here and grab a cup of Joe. Let's talk about some goings on and anything you know. Good morning. Get in here and grab a cup of joe. Let's talk about some goings on and anything you know.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Come on in and grab a cup of joe. Good morning, Salty.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I think you and I have been up for quite a while.
It's one of those nights when I got a full day, and so my brain is just like, sorry, dude, you're not getting sleep tonight.
I know, right? I woke up at the witching hour, 3 a.m., took myself right outside in the yard and sat down and touched grass.
Yeah. How's my volume?
You sound good.
Okay, good. Because I've got a new camera that I'm trying out, so I'm in a little bit of different spacing than I usually am. So I'm a little further away from the microphone. I'm probably
no, you sound good.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I've got a new face tracking camera, which is kind of weird because if I stand up, it's going to like follow my face when I stand up. So I got to sit really still.
A face tracking camera. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I don't like things to track me.
Oh man. Good morning, everybody in chat. Good morning, Carol, Baca, Pammy, Shelly's in here. Good morning, everybody. Trace is in here. She's listening in the car. Karen and Dizzy. Dwayne. Hey, Dwayne. Good to see you in here.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Butterfly's in here too. Karen, Deanna May. Good to see everybody in here.
Yeah.
I'm not used to this camera yet. I may have to change that. So I don't have it mounted on my laptop, which would put it closer to my face. I think I'm going to do that for later when I do the afternoon live for the LA Fire update. Dixie Joe, good to see you in here. What we do have this morning is we have some documents that I stumbled across on the Maricopa Superior Court website that I've been looking for almost literally every single hour, every single day since the 14th, since the hearing on the 14th when Lori filed them. And I haven't seen them, and I haven't seen them, and I haven't seen them. And then somebody else went live with them. And I'm like, how did they get a hold of those? So I went back and I looked at the docket. And sometime in the last few days, the court clerk predated them to the 14th. So I missed them. And I'm a little bit.
Were you looking at the minutes and not the docket?
No, I was looking at the full docket with all
Oh,
motions that get filed. You have to have a subscription for that. I paid for a subscription for that.
yeah, I know.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and they just like I missed them in there somewhere.
Hmm.
But it is what it is, and we have them now. I've got them now.
Yeah. That's all that matters.
Yep. So we're going to go over those. Those are all handwritten motions by Lori in relation to her upcoming trial for conspiracy to murder her niece's husband, Brandon Boudreaux. They were estranged at the time. Everybody in chat probably knows the story, but Melanie, as a lot of people call her, went up to Rexburg with Lori and abandoned Brandon and the kids. So he ended up filing for divorce. She came back. She ended up coming back. And after she came back, he continued the divorce proceedings, and they were having a custody battle, and he got shot at. And he was pretty sure he knew who shot at him. We're pretty sure we know who shot at him. But they shot at him out of a Jeep Wrangler with a certain license plate on it. And one of these filings is about that. But what I do want to do before we get into the actual documents is, you know me, I like to throw a little bit of backdrop behind all of these. So we're going to listen to, in Lori's trial in Idaho, we didn't get to watch it on TV. We had to listen to the audio every night after it was done. So I'm going to play the audio of Brandon testifying. So Brandon Boudreaux testified in the Idaho trial, and we're going to listen to part of that now, especially the part relating to the shooting that happened in Gilbert. Then we can take a look at the documents. Here we go. This is from East Idaho News.
My two older kids were in elementary school, so I dropped them off at their school. My third youngest went to a daycare preschool, and then I dropped my very youngest off at their mom's house, Melanie.
Melanie Boudreaux's home.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what did you do after that?
After that, I drove
Wait,
to.
we need
my gym
to go
where I
back to
worked out.
43. Hold on, that's too far ahead. We got to back up just like a couple of minutes. Sorry. There's something coming up here. I promise. Now I can't hear it. Now there's no audio. Salty, can you hear any audio?
No. What'd you do?
All right.
You broke it, Joe. You broke it.
I did. I broke it. All I did was go back 2 minutes and I broke it. All right. Remove that. We're going to start over with Brandon Boudreaux's audio in the trial Lori, and let's see if we can hear it this time. Let's reshare it. So crazy how StreamYard works. Let's try this. Nope. All right.
Joe, is it Monday?
It's the Monday is Thursday yet. All right, guys. I'm gonna start over. I'm gonna reopen that back up in another window.
My Monday was yesterday. It was crazy.
I'm gonna open that up in a new window. In a new playlist. That's not the first time that's happened to me. Surprise, surprise. Thanks everybody for joining. Thank you for your patience. This is so weird. This is not playing right.
After having to go back to StreamYard from being so used to Restream, I just did not like it at all. But it was good to use for a backup when Restream wouldn't work. I'll say that.
Okay, let's see if this works. This is so bizarre. Like the audio is screwed up.
All right, Ms. Smith, you can continue your questioning. I'll remind the witness you're still under oath.
Mr. Boudreaux, you were telling us about being shot at on October 2nd of 2019. Do you remember
Yes.
that? All right, let's back up. Where'd you been that morning?
I had my kids, so when we woke up, I got them ready for school. My two older kids were in elementary school, so I dropped them off at their school. My third youngest went to a daycare preschool, and then I dropped my very youngest off at their mom's house, Melanie.
Melanie Boudreaux's home?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what did you do after that?
After that, I drove to my gym where I worked out.
And this occurred down in Arizona, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then what did you do after going to the gym? Did you head home?
Yeah, so I left the gym and I drove home. As I was driving home, I lived on the second house in I would make a left-hand turn onto my street, and I was the second house in.
Okay, let me ask you, how long had you lived in that home?
Only a few days. Like I said, I sold my house previously. And in a rush to make sure that I got my kids, that coming weekend, I had just moved everything myself, and then two of my neighbors noticed me moving. I had just taken.
Let me just stop you there. How long had you lived at that house?
Only a few days.
Okay. And while you were at that, who knew you lived at that house?
Maybe 5 people.
Okay. And who were those 5?
My neighbors who helped me move, and Melanie, who I had to tell.
Okay. So you're heading home that morning and you turn on the street. What happens next?
As I came around the corner, I noticed there was a Jeep parked right in front of my driveway. My driveway would have been like this, and the Jeep was just parked right directly in front of it. And as I was starting to drive towards it, and I would have had to make a left-hand turn into it, I noticed a few things that stood out to me. The first was that
What were the things that you noticed?
Oh yeah. I noticed that it was parked really closely, almost touching the van that had been parked there the previous several days. It had a Texas license plate, and
Texas license plate.
The Jeep. It was a Jeep Wrangler, and Wranglers have a tire on the back of them, and there was no tire on this one. Instead, the window was kind of hanging open, but like the little tab things were like sitting on the outside of it.
Okay.
No tire.
So you see those things about the Jeep. What happens next?
As I drove forward, the window came up, and I saw a gun with what looked like a silencer, or heard a bang, and my driver's side window shattered. And so my natural reaction, instead of turning left into my driveway, I drove an electric car, so it was very instant, but I just pushed the gas and it just shot me forward.
Okay. What happened after your window is shot out?
I continued to drive, and when you're in a Tesla, the electric car, you let your foot off the gas, it brakes. And so I remember when I hit it, my phone flew forward. And then as I kind of came around the corner, I remember letting my foot off, and it came back, grabbed my phone. I called 911. I went around the corner and I parked next to the public pool there for a second. And then I remember as I was talking to the 911 person, I saw the Jeep come around the corner, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I started to try to follow it. And then the person told me that was a bad idea. So I thought it, I'm not 100% sure which, but I went back over and they instructed me to park in front of my house. So I parked in front of my house, and then police arrived.
Okay. You give the police the information on that Jeep?
I did, yes.
Okay. And did you follow up with law enforcement down in Arizona?
Yeah, after
Thanks. And so now my next question is, did you take any steps after cooperating with law enforcement to identify that Jeep?
I did, yes.
What did you do?
Well, after it took all day to go through, like, once this happened, but after a long amount of time, in the process, I had met with a detective and talked to him about just thoughts that I had about what was going on. He was just asking me, trying to get a handle on it. And as I was thinking about that, I realized that Tylee had a Jeep that Charles had bought her with a Texas plate that looked exactly like that. And I knew the VIN number because Charles had given it to me. So I gave that to the police officer, to my detective.
Okay. What color was that Jeep?
It was a grayish green color.
Wow. So Charles had given him the VIN number of that Jeep. That's interesting because he's Lori's niece's husband. Why would Charles share that VIN number with him? And this is after Charles has been shot and killed. So this is almost like from the grave, Charles is helping to solve this little mystery that happened.
It always struck me as odd when that was stated in court, in Idaho. And it made me wonder, Charles, I think he knew. And he was just trying to cover. At that point, he already knew things were going on, right? And I think because he was talking to Brandon about all of it, and they were communicating with it. I don't know if he did that as a precautionary measure. You know what I mean? There's just no telling. But I think Charles had some indications things just weren't right. That always struck me as odd that he gave him that VIN number.
Pammy said he sold car insurance. I assume she means Brandon sold car insurance, and Charles sold life insurance. So maybe he covered that. Maybe he covered that Jeep through his whatever company he was an agent for. Yeah.
Right. That would make a lot of sense as to why. Maybe if Brandon wrote policies for him to get the insurance on the vehicles, then he would need it, right? So he would have a copy of it. So makes sense.
Okay. And did the Jeep you saw had no tire on the back?
Correct.
Okay. Did you take any steps then also to provide it? I'm sorry, you told us you gave the VIN to law enforcement. Forgive me. How did you get that VIN?
Charles had given it to me previously.
Why would he give you a VIN?
I was an insurance agent at the time, and he had given it to me to run insurance across all of their different cars.
Okay. And so you provided that to law enforcement, correct?
I did, yes.
All right. What other steps, if any, did you take to follow up on that Jeep that you believe to be Tylee's Jeep and the shooting at you?
I had called and talked to Adam Cox and Zach Cox because they had also had concerns about everything going on. And
okay, other than talking to somebody, what other steps did you take?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you look at any information on the internet?
About the Jeep?
Or following up on the shooting at you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I did. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, after my shooting, I started to have my beliefs about who I thought did it, and I got concerned about the situation. And so I started thinking back to previous stuff that had happened. And I remembered that in these groups, there were people who I didn't know, but I remember there was a bunch of emails Charles had sent me. So I went through and reread those.
Okay. And did you see any names in the emails that you were looking at? When you say those groups, you're talking the groups of people that your wife was meeting in these firesides?
Yeah. She was meeting a bunch of people that didn't necessarily have, that were, said they were members of the church, but didn't have any like necessary connection to the church. And in that process, some of them would, write books or do things, and she would get into some of this stuff. And I remember distinctly inside of these groups, there was emails that were being sent with a group of them. And so I just went back to look at the emails Charles had sent me from there. And most of them came from a Chad Daybell. And since I didn't know who he was, I started Googling his name.
Okay.
Interesting.
And in that process of Googling his name, what did you see?
All right, I think we're done with that. That's about the Jeep Wrangler. One of these motions that Lori filed has to do with the Jeep Wrangler. So we'll start looking at those now, because I don't want to go super long this morning. I've got another one this afternoon, and Salty has one in between. So we can start looking at the documents now, at the filings. Good morning, Lori Ann. We're gonna do a couple more dives into this case before we get to trial. They're sending out juror questionnaires today electronically, and they're going to give them until the 28th to respond, and then they're going to review them on the 29th, and they're going to start calling the jury in and try and seat the jury on the 30th. And then opening statements will be on June 2nd. So we're boiling down. We're getting close to opening statements. So I've got a couple of things I want to go over to review just before this trial that have to do specifically with this, but also kind of expand a little bit beyond that. Into Chad a little bit, I think, because we're so focused on Lori, for obvious reasons, but Chad played such a big part in this too. Like, he's been sentenced, he's on death row, but we can't ignore him and his part in this.
Exactly. He certainly played a very big part in this.
All right. So this is, here we go. Since we just talked about the Jeep, let's do this motion first. These are all her handwritten motions. Booking number, Lori Daybell, booking number G062213, 3250 West Lower Buckeye Road. That's really close to the courthouse, actually, so the jail must be right there. I haven't actually like placed where the jail is on a map, because I've been to downtown Phoenix for trial several times. I went to a Braves Diamondbacks game, which is just a few blocks away from the courthouse, but I don't think I've actually seen the jail. Motion to suppress all evidence pertaining to Jeep Wrangler license plate number LWD0997. If that were still an active license plate, I would probably redact that just for privacy's sake, but that was registered to Charles, is my understanding. So he's no longer with us. Tylee's no longer with us. I doubt if that license plate is still an active license plate number. It's probably been permanently retired. Lori Daybell with a capital R, Lori Daybell, pursuant to the Fourth Amendment of the United States and Arizona constitutions, the defendant, Lori Daybell, requests this court suppress all evidence obtained as a result of illegal, unconstitutional, warrantless seizure of the Jeep Wrangler, license plate LWD0997. Facts. Oh, she's going to bring some facts now. All right, Lori, what are these facts that you have? Let me check chat real quick. Oh, Pammy thinks Chad was driving the Jeep that day. Interesting. Because how can you shoot out of the back of the Jeep and drive away like immediately after? You would have to be really nimble and get to that driver's seat after the shot pretty quickly. It's possible, but it seems more common sense that somebody else was driving the Jeep and Alex was shooting out of the back of it. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, it always made sense. And remember at the video of Chad and Lori at the storage unit taking the tire in and out,
Yep.
Chad absolutely knew.
And one of the detectives originally thought that that was Alex with her in the storage unit. And then he's like, but I came to realize that that was not Alex, that was Chad. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, he put his hand on her ass as they were walking out the door. And I'm like, I mean, that could have been Alex, but I would probably say that was probably Chad.
I was about to say.
I mean, there were some weird family dynamics, but that was
Yeah.
probably Chad.
Yeah. It looks like Chad.
Yes, it does. It does. It's body shape and mannerisms. Yeah, all look like Chad. And we'll take a look at that video before we get to trial. We don't need to take a look at it this morning. We got a lot going on. So here are Lori's facts. On or about October 17th, 2024, approximately 7 months ago, Detective Ray Hermosillo of the Rexburg, Idaho Police Department, a state witness intended to testify in this trial, was interviewed on a podcast entitled Fax Me the Podcast. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one. They just got some publicity on my little tiny channel. I'm sure they have probably a lot more followers than I do if they got him to come on. Anyway, during this 2-hour, 12-minute interview featuring Detective Hermosillo, the detective informs the public how he obtained the Jeep Wrangler, license plate number LWD-0997, on November 4th, 2019. Detective Hermosillo indicates at about 5 minutes in, so she's basing these facts off of the podcast. I mean, but if he said what he said, then that is a fact. On Monday morning, November 4th, 2019, while driving home from the gym, he spots the Jeep in apartment complex parking lot. He makes some phone calls and gets the Jeep impounded. He then gets on the phone with Arizona and states, I got your Jeep. He gets on the phone with Arizona and states, I got your Jeep. Arizona says, hang tight, we have to get a warrant issued. Detective Hermosillo then states that Jeep sat in our custody a week and a half till they showed up. Interesting. That is interesting. Conclusion. So she can't use legal language. She's got to talk in narrative form, which tells me that she's not going to testify on her own behalf because she can't help herself. So after seizing the Jeep Wrangler, after seizing the Jeep Wrangler without a warrant, Detective Hermosillo then took steps to obtain a warrant. The defense requests all evidence obtained as a result of this unconstitutional warrantless seizure in violation of the Fourth Amendment be suppressed. A suppression hearing is requested to be distributed to Judge Boreski, County Attorney Trina Kay, Defense Attorney Miss Lori. So she wrote that on the 7th and didn't file it until the 14th, and I didn't get it until this morning. All right, let's see what chat's saying about this thing. Not a whole lot to say about it. Fax Me a Podcast is the guy from Brooklyn. Okay. So Detective Hermosillo went on his podcast and said something about that. That's interesting how much social media is playing a part in these things now.
Oh, it was going on long before this. You'd be surprised how many cases I've looked at. Even the Susan Morphew case, okay, going back to that, there's podcasts mentioned in all kinds of court documents as people talk. And people want to use it against them later. So it's,
Right. Good morning, Squeegee. Good to see you in here. Thanks for joining us. It's going to be a short one this morning. We have three court documents to go over. We just read the motion to suppress the Jeep Wrangler evidence, and I got to be honest. I mean, that's a good point. If he really did seize the Jeep without a warrant, that's a legal issue.
Well, there's other court filings I've read where they do that. They'll seize the property. We just heard about that in Karen Reed. They seize it until warrants can be obtained. They can't do anything with the vehicle, right? They can't search it. But if he hadn't have seized it, and it's Arizona is not really picking up the ball quick enough on this case to begin with, in my opinion. Because if they did, Charles may still be here. But that aside, if it, they can seize it, maybe, Idaho, Arizona laws are different. It depends. I mean, the Constitution is the Constitution. But they didn't actually conduct any searches until a warrant was obtained. That's different. So I don't know if she's got a legal basis here or not. I doubt it.
Yeah. So search and seizure is Fourth Amendment. So we have a Fourth Amendment right that protects us from illegal search and seizure. Probable cause and exigent circumstances are two exceptions to that. So he seized it probably before they searched it. Probably. And we'll find out in this trial.
I'm willing to say they did. I'm sure they did not search that Jeep until a warrant came. Why would you want to throw your case like that, right? She's already got it out for this detective anyway, right? She can't stand him. So anything that Hermosillo's done, she's gonna go at him. She's been doing that forever. But if they didn't conduct a search on it, then I don't know if she's got any basis here or not.
Yeah, good question. Good morning, Janelle. Good to see you in here. Marianne, good to see you in here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play the storage unit video because we do have a little bit of extra time. And it's only 4 minutes long. This is from Nate, East Idaho News.
Was that the only document that came down?
No, there's two more. No, there's
okay.
two more. But that does specifically, we did just hear Brandon talk about how there was no tire on the back of that Jeep and it had a Texas license plate. So I just want to go over this 4-minute video that East Idaho News produced of Lori and this unidentified male, who we probably know who that is, taking the back seat and the tire from off of that Jeep in Rexburg before it shows up down in Arizona and somebody in the back takes a shot at Brandon.
I'm Nate Eaton, and we are getting a closer look at surveillance footage from Self Storage Plus in Rexburg. This is the facility where Lori Vallow went on October 1st to rent a storage unit, and inside she placed some very personal belongings, such as children's bikes, scooters, also some photo albums, and blankets with pictures of her children, JJ and Tylee. Lori and sometimes 2 men visited the facility 9 times in October and 1 time in November. The big question is what happened on October 2nd. We know that Lori rented the unit by herself the day before on the 1st, but on October 2nd, she came in her blue Nissan Rogue with a man we originally thought was Alex Cox, her brother. But a closer look of enhanced high-quality video shows it likely was not Alex. In fact, it appears to be Chad Daybell, based on the way he walks, looks, and comparing his mannerisms to other video we have of him. Let me walk you through this. The blue Rogue arrives at 2:25. You can see the timestamp says 1:25, but that's because the clocks were off, according to the facility. Lori is driving the Rogue and makes her way to the door of the building where her unit is. She gets out 2 minutes later at 2:27 with the man we believe is Chad. At 2:29, he pulls a tire out of the back of the Rogue and rolls it into the storage unit. Then 1 minute later, he and Lori both carry in together what appears to be a removable car seat. They put it in the locker, shut the door, and leave the facility at 2:32. Their entire visit.
You're on mute, Joe.
Yeah, had to pause on his hand on her butt. I mean,
so it makes it so if they're going to put somebody in the back of the Jeep to do a hit on someone, you need to get rid of the seat and the tire.
Right. Yeah, you can't open that window with that spare tire in the way.
Oh God,
So they
yeah,
planned
that's
this. They
yeah,
planned this out. They planned it out because this is in
yeah,
Rexburg. This isn't
yeah,
in Gilbert or Chandler or Mesa. This is in Rexburg.
right.
They're like, we're going to put somebody in the back of that Jeep and take a shot. We're going to take out Brandon because he's dark now.
And
Because
then the
he
Jeep
and
went back to
Melanie.
Idaho because that's where it was found.
Yep. All right. Hand on the butt. This is my favorite part of this.
Their
It's the
entire visit
grossest. It's
is just
gross.
7 minutes. So why does this matter?
Quite
Well,
so.
that same day, Brandon Boudreaux says that he was shot at in Gilbert, Arizona around 9:30 that morning while coming home from the gym. Brandon had been married.
Wait, Nate. The same day he was shot at 9:30 in the morning? It takes hours and hours to drive from Rexburg down to Gilbert.
Was the storage facility was in Rexburg, right?
I thought so. That was my
Mm.
understanding.
She's in Chandler though.
Lori is?
Wasn't she already there in the town whenever Brandon when they went after Brandon?
I know that Melanie's was, but I don't know where Lori and Chad were. I thought they were in Rexburg, but now I'm confused. Yeah, that's like a 14-hour drive, Janelle. It couldn't be same day unless they were in the Chandler Gilbert area.
And the Jeep came down there and they took everything out of it they needed to remove and then went and did the deed or attempted to do the deed. And then somehow
So
that Jeep got back over to Rexburg.
whose house were they staying at? Because they didn't have that house in Chandler anymore. So they had to have been staying with family or a
Somebody.
hotel or something. Yeah.
I
And
mean,
that means
Alex was obviously in town. If he's the
well,
shooter.
yes. Well, Melanice was also because Brandon testified that he dropped the kids off with her, or he picked him up from her house or something. So at that point in time, Melanie Pulowski, well, she was still Melanie Boudreaux at the time. They hadn't divorced yet. Had
Well,
come
maybe
back
Lori
down
and
from
Chad were at
Rexburg.
Melanie's.
Yeah, maybe so. All right. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. Hold on. Eliza has a good point. They didn't have to have the Jeep there because before Alex drove it down, they could have taken the tire off and the car out, or in the seat out, and left it with Lori in Rexburg before he drove the Jeep down. That's a good point.
And then she would, yeah. I mean, it's been so long since I looked at all that stuff with these two, because the Idaho stuff's been a while. So it's just been a long time since I reviewed any of the old stuff.
Yeah. We got 2 more documents to go through as soon as we're done with this, though.
Lori's niece, and he had a very large life insurance policy and assets totaling over $1 million. Months earlier, Melanie began spending a lot of time with Lori and her religious group. Then Melanie suddenly demanded a divorce from Brandon. The bullet missed his head by inches, and police say the person who shot at him was driving a Jeep registered to Charles Vallow. Charles had been dead for nearly 3 months at this point, and Tylee Ryan regularly drove that Jeep, but she had been missing for more than a month at this point. Now, if you're familiar with Jeeps, you know that many models have spare tires on the back, and if they are in place, the back window does not open. But if they are removed, that window does open. So it's possible that the Jeep used in that shooting had the tire removed, and that tire could have been placed into the storage unit along with the back seat of the Jeep. We would ask Alex Cox if that was the case, but we can't because he's dead and police are not commenting. But if Cox was not in Rexburg, it's possible he was in Arizona, inside Charles Vallow's Jeep. The next day, back in Rexburg, Lori returns to the storage facility with another man who we believe is Alex. They were there for 3 minutes. You can see them entering, working their way to the same door she was at the day before, and going into the building. Compared to the guy from the day before, this man walks differently and carries the tire out rather than rolling it. The man we think is Cox also carries out the car seat by himself without any help from Lori. Originally, we thought this was a tote with something hanging over the end, but this higher quality video shows that it appears it's actually a vehicle seat, and Lori and Alex are likely taking it away. 3 days later, on October 6th, Alex returns to the storage unit by himself in his silver pickup and comes 5 other times that month, including a visit on October 28th with a man who appears to be Chad Daybell. They stay 6 minutes and wheel in bikes and other items. The last time anyone visits the storage locker is November 24th. Lori and Chad stay for 4 minutes and drop off this Home Depot box and a tote, leaving belongings of JJ and Tylee never to return. Police have now seized all of the items that were inside of that storage unit, along with the Jeep that was used in the shooting of Brandon. I'm Nate Eaton for EastIdahoNews.com.
You can definitely see the difference between the two men.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But he said that was the next day. So Alex could have driven all the way back up. I want to know, not for anything like evidentiary, like it's not going to change my mind one way or the other on guilt or innocence, but I would like to know from a timeline perspective where that storage unit is. Is that in Arizona or is that in Rexburg? Because he just said the next day Alex showed up and they took the stuff back out of the storage unit the next day.
It'd be easy to find out. I'm outside, not with my computer, but you could easily.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We got documents to go over. We can go over those and then figure all that stuff out another time. It's in Rexburg. Janelle says it's in Rexburg. So Alex drove like straight back after that attempted shooting. And remember said somebody texted, Chad texted Lori or Lori texted Chad. He missed. He can't do anything right. Yeah.
Makes sense that he would to do the drive without stopping. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to be, you don't want to make it known you're there a long time. Just go, do what you got to do, and then drive back. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, get out of town as fast as you can. Yep. Yeah, I read an article.
Trying to conceal it, you don't want to make it known you're there, so you want to conceal that. So yeah, I could see you probably drove all night long, and then made the attempt that morning, and then probably drove all the way back.
Yeah, that's a long drive, and then you miss.
Yeah. Well, he's a damn freak.
He is. Oh, he was a long haul trucker. Lorianne Good says he was a long haul trucker. So yeah, 14 hours.
Alex was.
Yeah.
That's nothing to him. He's used to it. I know one thing. That's a rough ride in a Jeep like that. I've been there, done that from Tennessee to Florida. I didn't care for it. It's a rough ride.
Yeah, so. I did 20 hours straight from Florida to Fort Lawton, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That was a long haul in a Jeep Wrangler. And it's a stick shift too. So, I mean, you get on the highway and you're in fifth gear.
Yep. Yeah,
but still
depending on your tires too, because it was just a rough ride that I didn't care for. So,
yeah,
more power to you, Alex. All their cover-ups didn't help, did they?
All right. Nina says, here we go. She's going to lead us into our next document. Phone records between Alex and Lori and Chad. She filed a motion to suppress some records. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, there has to be some records involved, right? With messages and different things like that, to be able to show conspiracy to do all this.
Right. So here's her next motion, filed on May 14th, 2025. That's interesting. That's handwritten too. They usually have like a nice electronic stamp at the top of those, but that's a hand stamp. Don't see those on these documents very often anymore. Motion to preclude evidence of phone data and text messages. The defendant, Lori Daybell, requests this court preclude all evidence of phone data. Girl, you're not getting everything thrown out. Your motion is going to be denied.
Well, most defense attorneys try, so she's given it
All evidence.
capital R for effort. Lori's effort is a capital R. You get a D for effort, Lori.
Request this court preclude all evidence of phone data and text messages relating to Alex Cox pursuant to the rule 80, I think that's 801C. It might be an 802. 801C hearsay rule, 801D procedural rule, or context statute. Hearsay is inadmissible unless it is defined a non-hearsay under Rules of Evidence Rule 803. In order for text messages to be relevant, it must establish the defendant's intent, knowledge, and absence of mistake. She's just spouting something she Googled.
Word salad.
Yes, exactly. It does not make sense to me. The alleged co-conspirator is deceased. Therefore, the state cannot establish Alex Cox's intent, knowledge, or absence of mistake. That they cannot. Maybe. Facts. Oh, here we go with Lori facts again. Lori's facts in this. In Olmstead, telephone messages are inadmissible. Did she cite Olmstead above? She needs to cite the case. If she's going to cite a case, she needs to cite all of the, year in the court and all of that stuff. In Olmstead, telephone messages are inadmissible. Federal Wiretap Act, SCA, ECPA, USCA Constitution, Article 3, State Invasion Privacy Act prohibit unlawful access to stored electronic oral communications, RE free face. I can't even read that word. RE Facebook. Oh, Facebook. She's citing a Facebook ruling. Interesting.
A Facebook ruling.
Yeah.
What? I can't even read that. Make that a little bigger.
All right. Article B, or her sub line item B, Federal Wiretap Act, SCA, ECPA, USCA Constitution, Article 3Z, State Invasion Privacy Act prohibit unlawful access to stored electronic oral communications, RE Facebook. She's just like pulling stuff out of somewhere and throwing it, slapping it in here. It doesn't make sense. Torts, IPA bars reading or attempted reading of any message, 18 USCA 2512. The data contained is unreasonable. Servers. Something lost are oversee breaching foreign treaties, RE metapixel. Wow, this stuff is. I can't understand it. Maybe a lawyer might be able to interpret it. Maybe the judge might, but I highly doubt it. Pixel traces IP addresses and devices, 10 violating USC Constitution article. So she must have some type of knowledge through discovery that metapixel or pixel was used to interpret some of the phone data extractions, maybe violating USC Constitution Article 3, something 2. All right, paragraph E. Hold on, I got to take a break. I got to check chat because my brain can't keep up with this stuff. Sovereign citizen, Jermaine, that's, yeah. She's getting it from somewhere, and I don't know where.
Law books.
Yeah.
She's not smart enough to just go, oh, you know what? I'm going to Google or search up. She's getting what she's getting from the law library, and then she's conferring with her little team, and they're like, yeah, you can cite that, or no, you can't, or whatever. But she has to be the one to factually back all that up. So she's just giving her best effort, but she's getting all this from the law library stuff. In my opinion, that's where it's coming from.
This is a good point. One sunny day. That's what I thought. I thought I was reading some of those citations are California citations, and they won't help her in Arizona. But guess who practiced in Arizona? Didn't her dad?
Yeah, but a
Barry?
lot of times, even if you look at a lot of other court records in many cases, they'll cite cases that aren't pertaining to their state.
Right.
Right. So it's.
Yeah, we just saw that in Karen Reed because Alessi made some type of a motion or something, and Judge Cannoni said, well, can you cite me the law on that? She said, can you cite me Massachusetts law on that?
Yeah.
And Alessi said, we've done an extensive search. We couldn't find anything in Massachusetts. We found quite a few cases outside, but we'll try and find something. But
Ann Taylor in Idaho has been citing cases since the day she took on Brian Koberger's case. That's normal that they cite a lot of cases from around the country and the rulings that were found. But will they pertain to your state is a whole different ballgame, right?
Yeah, and it's up to the judge ultimately to decide if that applies or not in this particular case. All right. Tylee's yes, Janelle, yes. I met Annie and we got along really well at the trial, and I have seen some of her stuff on this. She has done extensive work on this. Yep. All right. Paragraph E. In RE search warrant application for location information 2024 WL 4527778 violates PIN register and tap and trace cell site location information, Stored Communications Act, 18 USCA 2703, 3122, 3123, 3127, 47 USCA 1002. SCA, Stored Communications Act, does not permit government to obtain requested PIN warrant. She's bringing up a lot of relevant arguments, but she's got to have something behind it to bring that argument home. She can't just say it doesn't work. Just like in the last hearing when she said, well, Melanie and Zulema they're relevant witnesses. Well, why are they relevant? Well, because I said they are. And the judge said, no, just because you say they're relevant doesn't make them relevant. And then she ended up saying, well, they're on the state's witness list, so doesn't that make them relevant? I mean, she's getting this from somewhere. You can't just say SCA does not permit the government to obtain a requested PIN warrant. You have to argue that on another level. You're making a claim, and it may be valid. She's making a claim, and it may be a valid claim, but you have to back that up with an argument of some kind. In Olmstead proves. That's not even proper grammar. You could say Olmstead proves under Wiretap Act. The telephone messages cannot be intercepted. A warrant cannot be provided. In Riley, data goes to cloud computing and server. Server connects to web host, which most are foreign entities. Web host opens for pixel. Pixel tracks the device. Servers, web host pixels, data, and cloud computing would take numerous court orders. Therefore, the data was illegally obtained, and according to Riley in California, it is hearsay anyway. I think Megan is right that she hasn't progressed beyond high school. I mean, even some of her prior motions are more understandable than this.
Pinch, wrap, and trace warrants are common in cases that she's just barking up a tree that she can't come, she's got no merit.
Yeah. Also, if the state is using geofencing from Google or location history directly from the account, the state still cannot determine who was in control over that device at the time. These are all arguments for court, so she's going to probably request a hearing. So any data obtained would be pure speculation as to an actual person's location. A phone is a small device that could be picked up by any person and transported by any person.
She not understanding how geofence warrants work.
Yeah.
And we're all going to believe that somebody stole Alex's phone and used it. Okay.
Right. And these are also arguments to argue in front of the jury, not the judge, because say the state provides some kind of geofencing argument, then you get up and so they'll have their expert witness on, right? And the expert witness will say, okay, we track this phone location to this, this general area, whether it's a specific area or a broad area. And then she should on cross say, well, do you know that I was in possession of the phone at that time? Do you know Alex was in possession of the phone at that time? Do you know Chad was in possession of his phone at that time? I mean, that's for arguments in front of the jury, not for a motion to suppress.
Well, I guess she's mad. She's probably big mad because she knows tracking Alex's phone is what found her children in the backyard.
Yeah. And she's probably also mad. I mean, she's got to be frustrated at least that she didn't make any arguments or present any evidence or any witnesses in the first trial. And the one that not the first trial, not the one in Idaho, the one that just happened in Arizona. I mean, nothing. Well, she didn't in Idaho either. She wouldn't let her attorneys provide a defense up there. So, and she wouldn't. No. So she's got to be frustrated, and she's trying to testify now. And in a motion to suppress, this does not seem appropriate to me. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I imagine Trina K is probably going to tear this to shreds. All right, I'm checking chat real quick. Just taking a break from her insanity. There, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, but he's nowhere to be found to be subpoenaed to be a defense witness. Oh, it was so funny when Judge was asking her about her defense witnesses, and he goes, "Who's Barry?" She says, "Well, that's my dad." And she's like, "Well, what's his relevance?" Well, she couldn't come up with relevance in that either. She was calling her own dad to be a defense witness on her behalf, and he never showed up. All right. Continuing on with this craziness, the state has made no determination to the defense that any data turned over to the defense regarding Alex Cox is actually data from Alex Cox. The state has made no determination to the defense that any data turned over to the defense regarding Alex Cox is actually data from Alex Cox. No, you get phone numbers and IP addresses, and you get all that stuff in discovery in those extraction reports. And she had a decently valid argument in the last trial that she didn't get the gray key data. She just got the extraction report, this Celebrite extraction report. So that was actually a valid argument in my mind, but she couldn't land it. But this makes no sense. Any person who knows your email address could purchase a phone and attach your email address to it. These are not arguments for a motion to suppress. The defense requests this court preclude all evidence of phone data regarding Alex Cox in this trial for all of the reasons stated above, dated May 5th. So she was stewing on that for a while. May 5th. What was the last day of trial? I can't even remember what the last day of trial was. But it's almost like she was working on these while she was in trial, and she's coming up with these reasons while the state is presenting this in her first trial. So if she had these arguments, all right, people, somebody tell me when she was convicted in the first trial. Beth, I don't think there's a deadline for motions to be filed, but there are definitely deadlines for evidence and notification of witnesses, and that's 30 days before trial, and she has missed all of those. And Judge Boreski let her know last hearing that he may preclude all of her witnesses because she did not follow the rules of procedure in presenting those to the court. What was the date of her conviction? They all run together. They all run together. But she had to have been working on this motion like towards the end of her first trial. Like she's coming up with all of these thoughts, these ideas, these rationalization to throw the evidence out, but she didn't present that in the first trial.
Would it pertain to their other trial? You know, they're separate, so.
There were text messages. No, there were text messages from Alex in the first trial.
I know that the ones she's talking about now are pertaining to this trial.
Right, correct.
Brandon's. So, of course, when she goes back to her cell at the end of the day from trial, she's going to work on her next case. She's got nothing else to do.
No, Pokemon, I mean this last trial in Arizona. The one she was just convicted for. What was her date of conviction in this one?
I can't remember the day of the last trial. The day it was 2 days before Karen Reed started. I covered too many cases to remember exact dates. I have to go back and look. I have to go back and look.
It was towards the end of April, right? Because she started the beginning of April, and it was only like 3.5 weeks long.
There you go. She made verdict 4/22.
4/22.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because Karen Reed started like a day or 2 days later or something.
Right. Okay, so she immediately started working on these motions, I would think, because she dated this the 5th, May 5th. All right, so one more to go. Here is the third one filed on May 14th. So these three were hand submitted to the court on May 14th at our last hearing. Motion to dismiss for non-preservation of crucial evidence. The defendant, Lori Daybell, requests this court dismiss the charge. Whoa. This isn't just a motion to suppress. This is a motion to dismiss. Holy cow. Non-preservation of crucial evidence. The defendant, Lori Daybell, requests this court dismiss the charge since the state of Arizona did not preserve the crucial evidence of the car door or the car window. Why does she have that in quotes? A car door is a car door. You don't need to put it in quotes. Car window is a car window. You don't need to put it in quotes. Of the alleged victim. It is a violation of the 6th and 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution and the defendant's right to due process and the right to a fair trial. The lack of preservation of this crucial evidence is prejudicial to this defendant and to her defense team. Lori, what defense team? You are your own team. I mean, you have advisory counsel, you have a paralegal, and you have an investigator. I guess they're a team.
Yeah, they're just letting her think that. She's going to think what she thinks. She's Lori with a capital R.
I think Pam Hicks is probably pretty fed up with her. But anyway, just my observation. That's allegedly. Don't quote me on that. The defense has requested of the state the actual door of the car that was allegedly shot and the window of the car door that shattered as a result of the alleged gunshot, the defense was informed by the state that they do not have and did not preserve the car door or the window of the car door, in quotes again. Therefore, they are not available to the defense to do their own independent investigation of these two crucial pieces of evidence to this case. There are nothing but pictures of the car door and the car window. Therefore, the defense and its experts cannot measure or test anything about this alleged shooting. This is a violation of the state. This is a violation of the state. I think she means by the state. Precluding the defense from doing an independent investigation of this case. This is a violation of the defendant's 6th and 14th constitutional right and calls for dismissal of this case. That's, at least that was shorter that time. I don't know that it makes more sense, but it's more legally, like, at least it's focused on the facts. That's
I guess she wants 1,000 pieces of shattered glass brought to her so her scientists can analysis it and put it all back together. Why they don't have the car door is interesting to me, but they got the photos, but I don't know if that's really going to do her any good. Was she going to have some ballistic experts come and do some tests on it?
Yeah, she actually has. She verbally told the judge that she has a ballistics expert on her list. Shoot, now I need to go back and look at the docket to see if I can find that. Her 15.
Has she been able to interview, or, is this guy come to see her in jail? They've been able to communicate and work. Yeah. Okay. She might have one by name, but is that all she's got?
Exactly. Exactly. Then judge asked her, so do we have any expert reports that you can share with the state? And Trina's like, we have nothing, Your Honor. And that's a problem. Mm-hmm. Judge Bresky said, yep, that's a problem.
Yep, that is a problem. They are correct.
So once again, I don't see her having any defense. I don't see her having any witnesses.
No, her whole end game is to get her story out there and her version of the events. Period. Yeah. Otherwise, she'd have a defense attorney trying to represent her and get her the best possible outcome. But she doesn't want that because Lori wants her story told in her way. That is the only reason she's representing herself in Arizona, because she couldn't do that in Idaho. And that's why she didn't participate in her own defense in Idaho, because what she told them she wanted, they're like, lady, no. So therefore she's like, I'm checking out. And she did.
Yep. And she checked out of the trial too. The only testimony she got in that first trial was when she was cross-examining. Well, she kind of tried to in her opening statement, and Trina objected to it like 50 times because she was trying to testify. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I got you. I'm following now. I got trying to follow.
It's the same deal in the first trial here. I mean, she doesn't want to testify, but she does want to testify, but she doesn't want to take the stand. So she's going to try and testify through other means, which is opening statements and cross-exam of witnesses. Hey, Rachel, good to see you in here. We have been over all three documents that Lori filed, handwritten motions to preclude evidence, the Jeep Wrangler evidence, cell phone data from Alex's phone, and a motion to dismiss for the state not having the car door and the car window of Brandon's Tesla from the shooting that day. So we've been through all of that. I'm gonna wrap it up here pretty quickly. Salty, you've got a Brian Koberger document thing to go over soon, right?
I do. I pushed the live back till noon because I have to go down to the store for a few minutes and come back. So there is a 40-page document that dropped that I do want to go over. There's a lot packed into that document, and it has to do way more than just the Dateline leak stuff. And stuff I want to discuss. So yeah, I'm going to do that here in a little bit. and then get it wrapped up so we can be back for your 2:00 show or 2 Central.
Yes. So I dropped the link for your live, for the actual live, not your channel. So that's the link I just dropped, guys. That's her Brian Koberger document review coming up. And then I've got I'm gonna do a 4-month anniversary. You can't call a month as a month anniversary of the LA wildfires, like a where are we now type of thing. We had boots on the ground out there recording video footage of the neighborhoods. And I've got some information from the LA County Public Information Office and a couple of charities that are still working with people that are still trying to recover from the wildfires. So that'll happen at 3:00 Eastern, 2:00 Central. There's the link for that. Thank you, everybody, for coming in here and chat and watching and hanging out with us and participating. And we hope to catch you again. Thanks, Salted, for coming up and joining me and commenting.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for having me up and going over the documents. It's always interesting to see what she's come up with now, you know.
Yes, this
I'll be glad
was
when Brandon's
interesting.
trial is. I'll just be glad when Brandon's trial is over and he gets the justice he deserves, and maybe the families can start to put all this behind them. You know, they've already done what they needed to do as far as dealing with the, you know, the deaths of their loved ones, and trying to get through that alone without all the extra is enough. But I think they're just probably ready to go see her sit down quietly somewhere and enjoy her slop for the rest of her life.
Amen.
Yeah, Lori, love that. Eat that slop, girl. Don't be a freedom fighter for jail reform on prison food. That's what her future is going to hold. Watch, she can't stay silent. She's going to come out and fight for their rights.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you over on Salty's channel in a little bit, and then see you back over here at 3:00 Eastern. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. Hope you got your cup of joe and filled up your morning with good things to know. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for saying hi. Together we make a difference. Be sure to come back by. Good morning, good morning. Thanks for saying hi. Together we make a difference. Be sure to come back by. Good morning. Hope you got your cup of joe and filled up your morning.